It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. This radical thought is posited by Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, who challenges the conventional understanding of poverty. But what does it mean to be truly poor? Is it a lack of money, or could it be something else entirely? These questions invite us to delve into a deeper understanding of what poverty truly entails. The common conception of poverty is often tied to a lack of material wealth, the absence of luxurious possessions, the inability to afford certain comforts or even basic necessities. This quote prompts us to reassess our perception of poverty. Perhaps poverty isn't just about the physical absence of material goods. Could it be more about our mental state, our insatiable desire for? According to Seneca, true poverty lies not in having too little, but in the relentless craving for more. It's a kind of poverty that extends beyond the financial realm, delving into the psychological, even the spiritual. It's a poverty of contentment, a poverty of the soul. It's the inability to feel satisfied, to appreciate what we already have, because we're constantly yearning for more, constantly comparing ourselves to others. This perspective uncovers the profound dangers of materialism and greed. When we're consumed by the desire for more, we become enslaved to our own cravings. We're constantly chasing after the next big thing, the next shiny object, never quite feeling fulfilled. This could potentially lead to a life of perpetual dissatisfaction and unhappiness, no matter how much we accumulate. So, we're left with a question. Are we, in our relentless pursuit of more, unknowingly living in true poverty? The question is not meant to incite guilt or shame, but rather to provoke thoughtfulness and introspection. It's an invitation to examine our lives, our desires, our values, and perhaps in doing so, we might find a path to a richer, more fulfilling existence, not in the accumulation of more, but in the cultivation of contentment. Our society is steeped in materialism, but what does this obsession with more truly cost us? We live in a world where the pursuit of more is often seen as a virtue. A world where success is measured by the size of your house, the brand of your car, and the number of zeros in your bank account. This culture of consumerism is constantly fueled by an onslaught of advertisements and social media feeds filled with curated, picture-perfect lifestyles. We are led to believe that wealth and success are synonymous, and the more material possessions we have, the happier and more fulfilled we will be. But let's pause and consider the flip side. This relentless chase for more often leads to a never-ending cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. We buy a new phone only to crave the latest model. We buy a new car only to covet our neighbor's more luxurious one. This is the pitfall of materialism. It feeds on our insecurities and fosters a sense of inadequacy, constantly making us feel like we're falling short. Moreover, this obsession with material possessions can also lead to stress and anxiety. We work long hours to afford the things we desire, often at the expense of our health and relationships. We worry about losing what we have or not having enough. We compare ourselves to others and feel discontented when we don't measure up. But here's the kicker. Studies have shown that beyond meeting our basic needs, additional wealth doesn't significantly increase our happiness. Think about that for a moment. We're spending so much time and energy chasing something that, in the end, doesn't even make us that much happier. In the words of the ancient philosopher Seneca, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. We might have enough, but do we know when to stop wanting more? It's a question worth pondering as we navigate through this materialistic world. But what if there's another way? What if contentment, not accumulation, is the key to true wealth? Let's ponder on this for a moment. The joy of contentment is a concept that seems almost alien in our consumption-driven society. Yet, it stands as a beacon of hope amidst the sea of materialism. It's a state of being where we appreciate what we have rather than hankering after what we don't. It's the realization that happiness doesn't come with a price tag, but rather, it's born out of our inner peace. Let me share a story. There was a man named Jim. He didn't have a mansion, a luxury car, or a high-flying job. He lived in a small house, drove a second-hand car, and worked as a school teacher. Yet, he was one of the happiest people you could ever meet. Jim found joy in the simplicity of his life. He loved teaching and shaping young minds. He treasured his time spent with family and friends. His small house was filled with love and laughter, not with possessions. His old car took him to places he loved, and that's all he needed. Jim was content. He didn't crave more. His wealth was not in his bank account, but in his heart. He was truly rich. Contentment gifts us with peace of mind. It frees us from the constant need to acquire, to compete, to outdo. It allows us to live in the present, to relish the here and now, without the nagging worry of what's next. Contentment brings genuine happiness, not the fleeting joy that comes with material possessions. It's the kind of happiness that fills our hearts, that lights up our faces, that makes our souls sing. So, let's take a leaf out of Jim's book. Let's strive for contentment. Let's redefine our understanding of wealth. Let's learn to appreciate what we have. Because, as Seneca suggested, perhaps the richest man is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. So how do we escape the trap of materialism and find contentment in what we have? The answer to this question lies in a few practical steps that we can all take. First, we can practice gratitude. Gratitude is the simple act of acknowledging and appreciating what we have. Instead of focusing on what we don't have, we can shift our focus to the abundance that already exists in our lives. Second, we can redefine success. Society's definition of success often revolves around wealth, power, and status. But true success, according to Seneca and many philosophers, lies in living a life of virtue, wisdom, and inner peace. Third, we can give back to others. Giving not only helps those in need, but also enriches our own lives. It reminds us of the value of things that money can't buy, such as love, kindness, and community. I remember a time in my life when I was chasing after material possessions, thinking they would bring me happiness. I was working long hours, neglecting my health, and missing out on precious moments with loved ones. But one day, I volunteered at a food bank. I saw the gratitude in the eyes of those I was helping, and I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. That experience was a turning point for me. I realized that happiness doesn't come from having more, but from being more present, more compassionate, more grateful. As we navigate the complexities of modern life, let's remind ourselves of the wisdom of Seneca. Let's strive not for more possessions, but for more understanding, more kindness, more peace. Let's learn to appreciate the simple pleasures of life and find joy in giving rather than acquiring. Remember, it is not the man who has too little that is poor, but the man who craves more. Today, we've explored a different perspective on poverty and wealth, one that challenges our society's obsession with materialism. We dove into the depths of Seneca's wisdom, which tells us that true poverty is not about having too little, but about craving more. A perspective that, quite frankly, turns our modern understanding of poverty on its head. We've dissected the pitfalls of materialism, the dangers of an insatiable appetite for more. This relentless pursuit of possessions that not only strains our planet's resources, but also our mental well-being. We've seen how this endless craving can lead to a life of dissatisfaction, a life that measures worth by what we own rather than who we are. We've also journeyed through the joy of contentment, the bliss that comes with being satisfied with what we have instead of constantly yearning for more. We've discovered that happiness and fulfillment are not tied to the amount of stuff we accumulate, but rather to the quality of our relationships, our experiences, and our ability to give back. We've explored ways to overcome materialism, to challenge the status quo, and live a more minimalist lifestyle. We've shared stories of people who have embraced this philosophy, who are living proof that a life of less can indeed be a life of more. More joy, more fulfillment, more peace. But what does all this mean for you? Well, it's not about throwing away all your possessions and living like a hermit. It's about reassessing your values, about determining what truly matters to you. It's about finding balance, about cultivating contentment, and focusing on the things that truly enrich your life. So, let's end with a challenge. For the next week, try to live with less. Donate something you don't need. Buy fewer things. Spend more time with loved ones. See how it feels. You might just find that you've been rich all along. Take a moment to reflect. Are you living a life of true wealth, or are you, like so many of us, unknowingly in the grips of true poverty?